What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Frantastic Fridays here on the Bitchuation Room podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for pressing play if you're listening in the future. Thank you for joining live if you're here live. Remember, you got to do the things. You got to give this podcast 5 stars. You've got to. There's just so many tasks. There's homework already. There's homework. Teacher, it's the first day of school. Shut up. You like the stream. You ring the bell so you know whenever we go live. You subscribe, trying to get to 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I know we can do it, people. Don't make me make more content. This is all the slop you get. This is what you get. We've got a great show. Very excited. Iman Abid is joining me shortly. She works with the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights and U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights Action. Don't forget the action. She's going to be here to talk all about this joint resolution of disapproval that 18 senators voted for, didn't pass, but pretty historic, momentous, what she thinks it means for more broadly the Palestine solidarity movement and ending the occupation just broadly, and then what it says about American politics and our relationship to things like, APAC and whatnot. So very excited to talk to her in a little bit. Do not miss that. And another content creator. God damn it. All we are is content creators anymore. RM Brown will be joining me in just a little bit. We're going to talk about Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Greene, RFK Jr., and every other little goblin that has decided to live in Donald Trump's ass crack for the next 4 years at our displeasure. And Matt Gaetz obviously booted from said butt crack recently, self-booted, but doesn't mean he's going away, although maybe, because he's not going to be in Congress. So good news. And as you all know, this is a Frantastic Friday. This is an extra show that often has extra interviews, but there's also a Wednesday show, a bonus episode. And boy, did things get spicy on Wednesday. A little bit of tea spilled, TYT, if you if you will. No, a little bit of righteous rage from yours truly, some light criticism from people we all know, or of people we all know. And yeah, so get at that by becoming a patron. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room, BITCH, spell it out. UATIONROOM. If you want a little bit of that, good. And yeah, and all the other things. I mean, you get access to all the backlog of bonus episodes, 20% off merchandise, which you can be found at bitchuationroom.com, of course, to get shirts and tote bags and stickers and all the cute little things. Because, let's adorn the revolution here, I guess. Let people know that you fuck with a Frantifa and all kinds of other perks. Access to the Ask Me Anything. I've been sharing some really good readings and podcast listens over on the chat over there on Patreon. So don't miss that. 2 recommendations just right out the gate. So check that out and make sure that you listen to that. I think we all need to be in a moment of reflecting and listening to as many people as we can, specifically people who are smarter than us and people who aren't necessarily Ezra Klein and the crooked media bros. I mean, all, no disrespect, but I think we need to dig a little deeper right now. And in order to do that, I'm very excited to bring on organizing and advocacy director with the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights Action. Please welcome Iman Abid. Iman, hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Likewise. Thanks so much for having me on the call.
Yes, thank you for being here. It's a call. It's like it's not your usual mass action call, but in a way it is.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have you here. I wanted to play a couple of clips from this, the Senate floor when they discussed this joint resolution of disapproval. But I just wanted to ask you to explain to the people out there why this vote was so significant, even though it didn't pass.
Yeah. I mean, One, let's talk about timing. It's 14 months into the genocide that's been unfolding in Gaza. We've been bringing attention to the fact that this needed to be stopped a long time ago. And even within the 14 months, we've seen just to what extent the United States has played a role in funding that genocide, right? Like, we've been calling for an arms embargo. We've been calling for a permanent ceasefire. We've been asking for the United States to use its role that it has and the ability to influence Israel, to stop this genocide from continuing, and to, most importantly, also to stop sending the weapons to Israel. And so as part of those conversations and those demands, we've also been asking members of Congress to take up legislation that could actually stop those certain weapons from being sent. We're fortunate that, and it's both fortunate and unfortunate because it came after a year of this genocide unfolding, right? That Senator Sanders had finally introduced 6 resolutions that are called the Joint Resolution of Disapprovals, disapproval to block $20 billion in major arms sales to Israel. So this is the first time we've gotten a chance to actually see some vote being made on blocking weapons. We've talked about it theoretically, we've talked about it in principle, but we've never seen a history like a vote like this being made.
Can I ask you, just to clarify, if it had passed, which would have been amazing, would it have blocked all the sales or just particular, my understanding it's particular like munitions or specific parts of the sale?
Exactly. It would only stop certain weapons. So it's not everything, but it was something. It blocked joint direct attack munitions and 120 tank shells, as well as some other things.
Right.
F-15 fighter jets were also a part of that resolution, all of that.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Amazing. And the fact that, yes, this week, there's been so much news when it comes to, this genocide and the lack of action, but minimal action. Obviously, the ICC arrest warrants of Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant are huge. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but also, the U.S. vetoed once again a ceasefire resolution in the United Nations. Look, the U.S. isn't party to the ICC of all things. Like, it's amazing. Right. We are party to the United Nations. And although we'll see how long that lasts. But here you have it once again, like how many 40 something times, I don't know what the number is of how many times we've blocked a ceasefire resolution.
Yeah.
I guess I wanted to get, like, before we dig into this, like, maybe before I play some of these clips, I just wanted to ask you, like, do you think the Biden administration has actually ever been serious about a ceasefire? And I say that given that a few months ago, State Department of spokesperson Matt Miller seemed, I think, to give away the game by saying that ceasefire means Hamas no longer exists, which is exactly the Israeli line on this. And that translates into the people of Gaza don't exist, as we in practice. But I guess what is your read? How is, and maybe it's you're repping U.S. campaign or just personally, like, how are you guys talking about how honest any negotiation has been from this administration?
Yeah, I think realistically, at one point or another, we really did want to believe the administration was trying, right? Like, up to a certain point. But after months and months have gone by and we find out that the ceasefire, they never even call out for a permanent ceasefire. They may have said ceasefire at one point. I think Biden, very close to when things transitioned over from him to Harris, had even mentioned the word ceasefire, but it didn't mean total and permanent ceasefire. We knew that it meant exactly what you said, right? Like, on the conditions that Hamas gave up all the hostages, on the condition that Hamas no longer exists, on the condition of those certain things. But it was never about actually stopping all parties from continuing the violence. Right. And like 14 months into it, no, I don't actually personally or professionally even believe that this administration was serious about a ceasefire resolution. And I think, like, it's to be said, right? You send billions of dollars in weapons. You've sent ships to create supposed and like apparent ports to help, ship and facilitate the distribution of humanitarian aid. And like the expectation then is to also believe that you're at the negotiation table having the right conversations. Absolutely not. We knew exactly what the United States was particular to, what they were interested in. We've always known that. We've always known that the United States has had a deep interest in the expansion of the Israeli state simply because it benefits them. And I think that's definitely what we saw, even in the midst of an unfolding genocide. It's been horrible to see this, because we know at the same time that the United States, there's no other country that has the ability to influence Israel the way that the U.S. does.
Yes.
Whether it's like the chokehold that they have with the financial, investments, the weaponry, like all of that. And I think like we did not see the United States using their advantage to our benefit to stop this violence from continuing.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
and the sort of the pinnacle of weakness, even if, and we're going to hear some of that. We were talking to Iman Abid, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights Action, that have been, making sure, I mean, my question also is like, were you all involved? I know there was a mass action and protest inside the Senate building. Were you all involved in that, surrounding the joint resolutions?
We uplifted the demonstrations that were happening. I mean, we oftentimes are encouraging folks to mobilize, do everything that they possibly can. So much appreciate, like, just, making sure that people understand to what extent they can do and act in these demonstrations safely, and to do so is what we did.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to play a little bit from Bernie Sanders here, because look, let's be real. Bernie was kind of letting us down for a while, but here he's stepping up, and he was the one to introduce these 6 resolutions, joint resolutions of disapproval to try and block some of the aid from going to Israel. And 18 senators signed it and agreed with him, which is huge. And here he is making the case, and I particularly like this part.
The United Kingdom suspended 30 arms export licenses after concluding there was an unacceptable risk they could be used in violation of international law. Germany, Italy, Spain, Canada, Belgium, and the Netherlands have taken similar steps. UN bodies have called for an end to the arms shipments fueling the conflict. Madam President, time and time again, I've heard members of the U.S. Senate come to this floor to denounce human rights violations taking place around the world. I've heard well-founded concerns about China's brutal reception of the Uyghur ethnic minority. I've heard rightful outrage about Putin's brutal attacks against Ukraine and bombing of civilian installations. I've heard genuine concern about Iran's outrageous crackdown on peaceful protesters. I've heard repeated condemnations of Saudi Arabia's terrible treatment of women and political dissidents, and on it goes. A lot of folks come to the floor to talk about human rights and what's going on around the world. But what I want to say to all those folks, nobody is going to take anything you say with a grain of seriousness. You cannot condemn human rights around the world and then turn a blind eye to what the United States government is now funding in Israel. People will laugh in your face. They will say to you, you're concerned about China, you're concerned about Russia, you're concerned about Iran. Well, why are you funding the starvation of children in Gaza right now? So, Madam President, we must pass these resolutions from a legal perspective. The U.S. government must obey the law. We must pass these resolutions from a moral perspective. The United States must not provide support to a government which has created one of the worst humanitarian disasters in modern history. We must pass these resolutions for our own best foreign policy interests. If we do not demand that the countries we provide military assistance to obey international law, we will lose our credibility on the world stage.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much is left to be salvaged, but he is speaking to, I think, specifically the piece of no one's going to take you seriously if you decry human rights in other parts of the world. I mean, I think that was laid so bare for people, voters, who saw, this massive hypocrisy, especially as, the Russian invasion of Ukraine continues and the war over there continues. And we're sort of very clear-eyed about who the aggressor is in that case, and, are told that our tax dollars need to go to supporting Ukrainian sovereignty. Okay, sovereignty, that makes sense. And then simultaneously, we must support Israel's right to, yes, ethnically cleanse the people of Gaza and obviously continue with the violence in the West Bank. It's just So, I mean, that I thought was brilliant. And yeah, but, you know, again, it didn't pass. But still, like, how important, like, it is that and I wanna just bring up, let's see, the 18 senators who actually did vote yes. Durbin, Heinrich, Hirono, Kaine, good old Tim Kaine, que habla español, King, Lujan, Markey, Merkley, Murphy, Ossoff, Sanders, Schatz, Shaheen, Smith, Van Hollen, Warnock, Warren, and Welch. Now, 2 people who stand out as someone who's in California who had neither of their senators vote yes on this are freshman senators, or, you know, sophomore, whatever, new senators, Ossoff and Warnock from a swing state of Georgia. From Georgia, which you wouldn't necessarily expect, and they're sort of staking their claim. I mean, what was their particular mobilization? Because I know, like, you know, Padilla's inbox is full. I call that full, and there's no like, but you know, my question is to get these 18. Were you expecting there to be 18 senators, and what do you make of those who did vote yes?
I mean, I think that it says there's volumes to be like, I think the fact that it happened post-election, number one, is a great thing, right? Like, many people are afraid of taking this positionality. They don't necessarily want it to risk their races. But I think some things that happened is certain representatives, especially those in Georgia, who were mobilized and like had actually got you know, pushed heavily by members of their own constituencies that wanted Gaza to be a top priority for them, finally actually heard them and followed through on the decision that they were going to make the next time that a resolution like this was going to come up. So I think we can see just how our own like bases, how the power of the Palestinian movement has like grown at the even the electoral level that has been able to convince certain representatives to make the right choice. And in this case, we saw that happen. 19 is unprecedented. Like, it seems like a small number, and I know it didn't pass. But the reality is this is more than ever before where people actually took a really like vocal position on what and where they wanted to be in relationship to this. Whether or not they wanted to be on the right side of history or they were influenced by their constituents, whatever it may be, I think the fact that we're actually moving in this direction, even as we're preparing for a Trump administration, is enormous.
Yes.
And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful that these 19 people took that position. I think it speaks volumes to the fact that the movement is growing. People are starting to pay more attention. And I think it's the last time where we'll ever see like even an electoral cycle not mention Palestine. I think it's brought up so much, whether a genocide has continued or not, that like this issue is something that really matters to people back home.
I love what you just said, that this is the last election cycle we won't hear, you know, Palestine be mentioned. I mean, and it had to be a little bit, you know, even Harris addressed it. I mean, obviously Trump using Palestinian as a slur, but in some cases running to the left of, in, you know, just in obviously callous, opportunistic ways, running to the left of Harris. But I think that, you know, U.S. campaign has been around for a long time. And I think that if the events unfolding after October 7th have taught me something, it is that actually your stance around Palestine, and especially our elected stances around Palestine and the occupation and the posturing towards Israel, need to be front and center and are maybe litmus tests, because they're a litmus test of how you're going to operate in the world, whether you will be dragged into war, what you believe about international law truly, and what you believe about basic freedom of speech in this country. And I want to play before I want you to get to respond to John Ossoff, again, a senator from Georgia, and hear what he has to say. Now he, you know, establishes the ironclad, he says the word ironclad relationship between the US and Israel, which is always sort of cringe, but he also sort of, you know, talks about the importance of international law, and specifically the importance of US law, which is the basis on which these disapproval resolutions are like being waged, which is like we are actively violating our own law when it comes to funding, sending weapons to governments that are engaged in war crimes.
Ministers in Mr. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, who insist there be no deviation from policies that are gratuitously brutal, even over American objections. We should be disgusted by the spectacle of Israeli extremists running amok in the West Bank, sometimes with protection of Israeli security forces, shooting and maiming goat herders and olive farmers and burning and seizing their land. And the American people are rightly horrified by the lack of sufficient concern for innocent Palestinian life that has left so many children unnecessarily dead in Gaza, without limbs or riddled with shrapnel. As I said on the floor last year, no one should be naive to the inherent risk to civilians that comes with warfare in a place like Gaza against an enemy like Hamas. Tragically, horribly, fighting terrorists in a dense urban environment makes civilian casualties inevitable. And yet the evidence that force has repeatedly been applied with reckless disregard for the innocent is too credible for us to ignore. We are talking about precious, innocent children and other innocent civilians who might otherwise be alive or without grievous wounds today. Mr. President, these things aren't just horrific, they're inconsistent with America's national security interests. Yet we seem to have forgotten that we have the power to influence our allies' conduct, and that we can do so without betraying our ally. It's often said that our efforts to influence close allies are best done in private and, where possible, done gently. And I agree. But in this case, that has not been sufficient, nor have heartfelt public statements and harshly worded letters been effective. So what would President Reagan do?
Oh boy.
Judging by his actions 40 years ago, I think he would judiciously use the power that comes with our provision of weapons in order to shape Israel's conduct. Some have taken to the floor tonight to argue that holding up 2 or 3 arms sales today would have been an abandonment of our ally, leaving Israel naked and undefended in the face of Iranian aggression. And that's nonsense. The question on the floor today was not whether to shut off military support for Israel. The resolutions we debated accounted for less than 5% of American arms that will likely flow to Israel over the next 3 years. And most of the shipments debated will not even arrive until 2026 or 27.
Jesus. Okay, so I'm not gonna play, but I think that's an interesting caveat that he's like, look, this is like so lightweight. This is super lightweight. And AIPAC was freaking out about this, right? And this is symbolic. And for someone like Asaf to be able to like make this vote, you know, take this vote and vote yes, it almost necessitates something that is kind of milk to like kind of lightweight, you know, and to make it safe. And so, you know, again, I'm not discounting that these, you know, resolutions are not important, but it's like, yeah, this is a very, very minor thing. And yet it is like, again, Israel freaks out about it. AIPAC freaks out about it. And everyone gets called anti-Semitic. And John Ossoff himself is actually Jewish. But I guess I wanted to, you know, no one, like, I don't know, maybe your response to how safe you feel it is to now the Democrats have lost the election, speak out about this, and maybe, you know, what you think can be done even in the limited time that we have before Trump comes into office.
Yeah, I mean, I should say it's safe, like it's safer than before the election, right? Like, 'cause I think AIPAC is going hard, right? I'm so glad that you mentioned AIPAC and the role of AIPAC. And I want to acknowledge that even trying to discredit AIPAC is like being seen as anti-Semitic nowadays, yet again, right? Like we're almost like going backwards. But I think the reality is, and I think this is, Ossoff's remarks are, I think, particular to the few representatives who don't necessarily just do it because Palestine is an issue that's important to them. They do it simply because of the fact that they want to hold us accountable to the United States law, right? They're seeing like, to what extent are we actually applying the United States law, and to what extent are we allowing it to be violated? That's what they care about most. And that's, to me, like even the remarks that were shared here clearly were about that. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that was not what we do. Like the reality is that that's going to be the focus for so many more, if we want even that many more folks to vote on something like this in the future. We get it. And we also, I want to acknowledge, like even theoretically, like this is a lightweight resolution, right? But it is also, it's still a historic resolution. I mean, we're trying to literally undo like the largest recipient of foreign military financing in the United States. Like we that's really hard. That's really, really difficult. So for us to get to this position is actually insane. And I think I want to acknowledge that that's actually like a really amazing thing. I get it though, because some people are like highly critical of this. Like, why push for something when it's so lightweight, when it's not going to make a dent? And it's like, it's more symbolic than it is to ever even get a resolution to pass. And eventually, I think we believe that we can build the power in Congress to actually pass a majority that's in favor of a resolution that we're interested in passing. But we also want to acknowledge that we're up against a very, very powerful lobbying firm. And AIPAC is one of them, right?
I think that's really,
yeah.
I think what you just said is really important. Like I think we have to remember this would be unconscionable just years ago, inconceivable years ago. And again, U.S. campaign working on this issue for so many years now and knows just how entrenched it is and how difficult it is. And so, yes, it's true that like it doesn't go far enough and maybe it is symbolic, but like that is, if AIPAC is scared, that means we're winning, right? That means we're gaining traction. And I do think it's significant that they're from, that Warnock also voted on this and that they're from Georgia, and Ruah Roman is from Georgia, you know, state rep who's Palestinian, who maybe was going to speak at the, you know, DNC and didn't. But her saying, look, I'm seeing progress in the Georgia Democratic Party on this issue in a way I've never seen before. And again, this is not to take away from the massive failure that was, you know, the Democrats fumbling this election, but it's also to show you that like there is movement, and thanks to people like yourself, thanks to people in the streets, thanks to all of the pressure, to say nothing of the reality being on our side about how awful this is. So I totally, yes, I just want to underscore what you said.
Yeah, and thanks to you, right? Like bringing this up on a platform like this is extremely crucial when we're not being accepted or we're still being sidelined on major news outlets. Like our stories are oftentimes completely compromised upon. So like to actually share the true story of what this isn't some sort of like, it's not even an anti-Israel resolution, right? It's just a stop sending weapons resolution. I think that the reality is that's what it is, even though we are trying our best. Like, I mean, a U.S. campaign, like our top priority is to stop the funding that's being sent to Israel. We're not asking the American public to liberate us. We're not asking the American public to figure out the future of Palestinians. We're just asking people to step up and understand the role of the United States and to stop this from continuing to happen. And in this case, we're asking people to stop the genocide from happening. And I think folks can choose whether or not they want to be vocal about it, whether they're representatives or just everyday people. And I'm grateful that regardless of how and where we are in this moment, like the movement continues to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important to know about, you know, what we can do from our side of the street is stop US taxpayer money from going to the IDF, to these war crimes, to Israel writ large. Because again, there's also like, you know, when their economy's in the shitter because they've, you know, conscripted everyone to go do genocide, who you fucking think they're going to come to? Us. Like as if we have the money. Sorry, this is just me going off. Last thing before I let you go, Iman. Lobbying. Tell me about lobbying inside DC for Palestinians, because we know that as congresspeople or senators, you get lobbied to death from AIPAC, Friends for Israel, Democratic, whatever, all the other, I don't remember all of the names, you know, but all of the different pro-Israel lobbying firms. And I believe it was a Republican representative who was like, yeah, I've had like 3 people lobby me about, you know, funds for Israel, and I've never met a Palestinian. I've never met anyone to tell me the other side. And like, again, this is not a condemnation. It's just a look at the power imbalance. But can you speak to that and how you hope, you know, U.S. campaign is moving forward on this?
Yeah, I think that it's the lack of like voice in Congress has nothing to do with the lack and the ability of movement. I think the reality is for many people, because we've seen just how Zionist the congressional institution is, the political institutions are, many people don't necessarily want to step foot into Capitol Hill because it moves so slow. It's extremely Zionist. It's like they're constantly weaponizing anti-Semitism against us. Like it's as if Palestinians are not welcome. And I mean, like even in this past year, as we were trying our best to have, you know, meetings with different members of Congress and whatnot, like oftentimes the meetings were either declined or not accepted simply because we were the Palestinian-led organization, right? Even though at the same exact time as in some cases, many of like whether they're close partners of ours or ourselves, we ourselves were trying to host meetings. We had learned that there were multiple briefings being held by the Israeli government for members of Congress every single day since this genocide began. And they were giving time for them, right? They were giving time to listen to this. But when we tried to explain that we had this documentation and we wanted to share our testimony and we wanted to share our perspective, it wasn't welcome to the same degree. That changed over time, though. I think as the movement began to go out into the streets and people started to see, oh my gosh, if I don't answer someone's message, if I don't answer this call that's being made by a constituent to actually stop sending weapons to Israel, like I'm just going to get bombarded with hundreds of thousands of other calls. And we still did that, right? Like we knew we had to bombard people because this matter was urgent. And I think at a point we started to see that tide change. We started to see people, okay, like we're welcomed in different spaces that maybe we haven't been in. But I think that's simply because they watched the movement grow. And I think people started to understand that, wait a minute, there's something at stake here, right? Like there's something that we have to pay attention to. So I think in that case,
in other words, like the street demos, which I know can feel deflating and non-productive, but actually people are like, well, I don't want that smoke. Let me just take this meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. And then to the experience, I was one of very few Palestinians that walked into the steps of Capitol Hill. And it's like, I get it. Nobody wants to be there. I didn't want to be there. Like, let's be honest. Right. The fact is that there are I Stand With Israel posters everywhere in the hallways. I remember there was at a time it was last Veterans Day where a bunch of veterans, anti-war veterans, actually decided that they wanted to demonstrate at Senator Kirsten Gillibrand's office for continuing to fund. I mean, we know where Kirsten Gillibrand stands on this. She's been a staunch supporter of war in many, many cases, not just in Palestine. But they decided that they wanted to use their background and their identities to kind of help influence this person. And I remember as they were chanting "Ceasefire now," I turned outside into the hallway outside from her room, and I see a bunch of staffers starting to twerk and to literally start. Yeah, it was unbelievable. That's the type of culture that's acceptable in these places, right?
What do you mean? What do you mean, mockingly?
Mockingly. And I think that there was a recognition there and right then that I'm like, this movement isn't being taken seriously to some extent still by some people. But yet it didn't stop them from continuing to demonstrate. It didn't stop dozens upon dozens of other people continuing to take action on Capitol Hill. We saw so many, even we saw the actions of JVP. We saw other folks stepping in even month after month, even after this moment. And I'm just thinking to myself that regardless of the way that the institution itself wants to remain, it can't stay as such. It has to shift, and it will continue to shift because the people will force it to. And I think that's something that we're witnessing right here, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Iman Abid, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, where can people go to find out more about U.S. campaign, get involved, donate, whatnot?
Check out USCPR Action, whether you want to check us out on uscpraction.org or on our Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to you use, we highly encourage.
USCPR Action.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope to have you back soon. Appreciate it. And thank you all for being here. I just want to mention Chuck Schumer is not on that list of 18 people. Chuck Schumer was like, I think Netanyahu, we need to do regime change in Israel. Like, this bitch couldn't even be bothered. 5% of the weapons, he couldn't even be bothered. Just like, what are you doing, dog? What are you doing? Who are you there for? So pathetic. And I did want to, and maybe we can bring him in for this. I did want to talk a little bit about the arrest warrants and perhaps another vote that happened in Congress that wasn't so good. Not that this one was good, but it was like, I don't know how to characterize anything anymore. Let me bring this motherfucker in. You might know him from his YouTube show, RM Brown. Please welcome RM Brown.
Hey.
Hi.
Francesca, thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah. Hey, check your mic settings real quick because I don't think it's pulling, the audio is pulling from there.
Check. Oh, God, I should have done this. This happens every time. Here we go.
I'm excited to hear how beautiful.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
No, sounds like dog shit.
Okay.
Go
Great.
change them and
Why is it changing back? Okay, can you hear now? Check.
I mean, it still sounds bad, but that's okay. I'll cut this out. What is it? 37 minutes? All right. I'm gonna give you a second because I wanted to talk about. Just make sure that the settings in your StreamYard are matching the settings on your computer.
Oh my God. Here we go. More tech problems. Great.
Great.
This is my
So
life.
there was another vote that happened this week, and that was a vote on Resolution 1449. And because AOC loves to fuck with me, every time I defend her, she always does some shit that I cannot defend. And that was voting yes on Resolution 1449, which was a resolution about anti-Semitism. And I wanted to go look at the bill specifically because the question is, does this bill that condemns the rise of global anti-Semitism, right? Does this bill adopt the language of the International Holocaust Memorial, I believe, Memorial Organization? Does it adopt that language that conflates anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism? And the answer is maybe, unclear. But here's the 1449, which obviously is a problem because once that language is adopted, that effectively collapses any anti-genocide, pro-Palestine protester in with, the likes of the Nick Fuenteses, in with the likes of like the white supremacists. So again, it condemns the global rise of anti-Semitism and calls upon countries and international bodies to counter anti-Semitism, which seems very fine and good and normal on its face, but more specifically, and it's pretty short. Whereas 31 in 2016, the 31 member states of International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance adopted a legally non-binding working definition of anti-Semitism, an important internationally recognized tool to increase understanding of anti-Semitism. So it mentions the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, which again is the organization that has collapsed the meaning of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism into this basically the same thing. As it mentioned that the resolution is to condemn anti-Semitism, welcome the global guidelines for countering anti-Semitism unveiled by the United States and partners in Buenos Aires, Argentina, calls upon states and international bodies to take up countering anti-Semitism and embrace the global guidelines for countering anti-Semitism. But the global guidelines for countering anti-Semitism, getting back to whether or not these actually collapse the definition, these are the global guidelines launched in Buenos Aires, Argentina, un país donde yo vivía unos 5 años, donde yo tenía un amor que me decepcionó. No, it was all good. It was like very, anyway. So preamble, blah, 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 blah. There, hang on. So basically, I'm trying to find. Understand and define. In order to combat anti-Semitism, governments need to understand its various manifestations. The legally non-binding International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA, working definition on anti-Semitism, is an important internationally recognized instrument used by 40 UN member. Blah, blah, blah. So there it is. So the resolution says we would like to basically adopt whatever the global guidelines that were unveiled in Buenos Aires said, and those global guidelines do refer to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism. I give you, this vote was effectively collapsing, or in some ways giving a wink and a nod to conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. You don't like my music, sis? I'm going to begin every post with whereas. Dude, I mean, this whole segment needs to begin with whereas. But let's go. Whereas Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a number of other Democrats, let's pull them up, voted yes on 1449, including obviously Richie Torres, because of course, Jamal Bowman, because I guess, why not go out with I don't know what. But a lot of people voted for this. Someone who did not vote for this was Representative Ilhan Omar, and she came out with a statement about why she didn't vote on this. She says, I voted no because the bill endorses a harmful definition of the IHRA that dangerously conflates legitimate criticisms of Israel to anti-Semitism and further harms our ability to address anti-Semitism. I condemn anti-Semitism unequivocally. However, this resolution does nothing to combat anti-Semitism. I will continue to stand against any attempt to silence genuine concerns of the Israeli government as anti-Semitism, because Ilhan Omar is a real one. So I don't know why AOC keeps doing this. I don't know which liberal Zionist organizations have gotten to her to tell her that actually the biggest threat to this world isn't Israel trying to drag everyone into World War III vis-a-vis ethnic cleansing of Gaza while calling everyone anti-Semitic. And instead, it is somehow anti-Semitism, perceived, imagined, and yes, in some cases real, but most of those cases are coming from Nazis who were marching with swastikas on the streets of Ohio because people put out a blood libel against Haitians. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the anti-Semitism that's actually happening. So I guess, score one for Franny being wrong on AOC this week. And to further prove that the United States is so deeply unserious about actually countering anti-Semitism and how much those who are responsible for overseeing the rise, the global rise of anti-Semitism and making sure that there is no global rise, that actually is a project that is collapsed into nothing but Hasbara, nothing but pro-genocide and genocidal points of view. Let me go back. Let me give you once again our girl, Deborah Lipstadt, who is the U.S. State Department envoy to combat anti-Semitism. You all remember her, / maybe you didn't see this clip. She is a Biden administration official, and she was speaking at the Israeli-American Council of Pro-Netanyahu Lobbying Front, funded by Trump mega donor Miriam Adelson, who, yes, donated a bunch of money to Donald Trump in order for him to annex the West Bank in the coming Trump years. This woman is responsible for the Biden administration, Democratic administration, overseeing the rise of global rise of anti-Semitism. She's the special envoy. Here she is at a pro-Netanyahu fundraiser. That's bad enough. That's fine. Let her be there. That's fine. Let her be there. That's fine. Here is what she says when asked, did October 7th sort of reveal that maybe the IDF isn't as big and bad and impenetrable as, as we all once thought they were? And here was her very couth, responsible, measured response to that question.
After October 7th, there was a feeling around the world that Israel is weaker. And in the
You want a beeper?
I can give.
Let's play it again in case you didn't catch that.
After October 7th, there was a feeling around the world that Israel is weaker. And in the
You want a beeper?
She said, do you want a beeper? Straight up the exact same thing that dude bro, whatever his name was, Ryan, I don't give a shit, I forgot his name, said to Mehdi Hassan on that CNN panel. I hope your pager doesn't go off. She said, do you want a beeper? So who's zooming who, people? We want to take real anti-Semitism seriously. We all want to do that. And yet, your global envoy on anti-Semitism is saying, do you want a beeper, in response to whether or not, basically defensively sticking up for Israel. It's just sick, man. It's sick. Yeah, so no love for the people who voted for this bullshit resolution. It's silly, and that was just a bad look all around, in my opinion. Here's a pretty good look. So I think we know, obviously, that Benjamin Netanyahu is on the run. BIBI is on the run, along with Yoav Gallant, his defense minister, because the ICC has, in fact, issued arrest warrants for him and Yoav Gallant, and they've also issued arrest warrants for Hamas leaders. So, okay. Now, of course, it is the U.S.'s obligation to arrest Netanyahu and Gallant should they step foot in the. What's that? I'm getting word. What? We what? Oh, we. Oh no. Oh, we're not party to the International Criminal Court. I'm sorry. You must have mistaken us for a country that believes in international law and upholds that. No. Oh God, that was the old America. I don't know, back at some point. At some point. At one time, maybe. But anyway, so this is from NBC News. Netanyahu is unlikely to be in handcuffs soon. Aw, I don't have a soundboard. As long as he avoid trips to Ireland and the Netherlands, who all made it clear they would arrest him if he visits. Now, I don't get excited about much. But the idea of Bibi Netanyahu being arrested in the streets of the Netherlands or Ireland or like the streets of Amsterdam. Thank you. I remember. It's very exciting to me. And then all of the American news outlets can just run with the headline, anti-Semitic Dutch brutally arrest just a peaceful Jew. Just the most peaceful Jew. Sure, he's wanted by the International Criminal Court, but he was simply like, and of course, if they do, it'd be very fun to arrest Bibi Netanyahu, like as he's taking down a Palestinian flag, like the hooligans, the Israeli hooligans who were unjustly targeted. And then, so there's that. So there's Ireland, Netherlands. It could be great. It could be amazing. Hungary has promised not to arrest the Israeli leader. Because obviously they are a bastion of liberalism and human rights. The jury's out with good old France and Germany. Unclear. France and Germany very unclear. Here we go. Britain respects the independence of the ICC, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, spokesperson, said, but did not say whether Britain would arrest Netanyahu. France restated its commitment to the court's independence and said its response would align with the statutes of the court, but a spokesperson for its foreign ministry did not explicitly say how Paris would act. The German government noted its role in crafting the ICC statutes, but also its relationship with Israel, vowing to, quote, carefully examine the next steps. Others, including Sweden and Norway, were also non-committal. Some appeared split. Both Austria and the Czech governments promised to uphold their obligations to the ICC, while senior officials criticized the arrest warrants. I just love, like, so many of these, like, smaller countries have, like, the opportunity to be, like, the fucking hero, like, where's Montenegro? Like, what if it's Montenegro? What if it's, like, some tiny-ass country? What if it's, like, a stopover country? Like, what if it's like a layover country that they were just there on a layover and oops, your plane can't take off. This is me fantasizing. I know none of this is gonna happen. It's it just can a girl dream? And can a girl dream that somewhere in the Clooney mansion, somewhere by Lake Como, Amal Clooney is just filing her nails like, like, You know what I'm saying? Like, how much did Amal do? How much did she do? She's done enough. Of course, then there was your boy, yes, maybe once I did blackface, but I'm actually a good guy, Justin Trudeau. Over in, our better half, Canada. And here he is answering the question whether or not he would arrest Bibi Netanyahu should he step foot in his country.
Michelle Song, CBC News. Now that the ICC has issued warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Canadian law enforcement is obligated to arrest them should they come to Canada. Will you allow that to happen, or will you step in to prevent an arrest?
First of all, as Canada has always said, it's really important that everyone abide by international law. This is something we've been calling on from the beginning of the conflict. We are one of the founding members of the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice. We stand up for international law, and we will abide by all the regulations and rulings of the international courts. This is just who we are as Canadians.
So unclear, but similar take. I just have to shout out Midwest Manitoba on Twitch for saying Fidel's son. Yes, everybody knows Justin Trudeau, love child of Margaret Trudeau and Fidel Castro. Yep, don't ask about it. That's exactly what happened. That is what happened. And it's along the lines of God, what's her name? Ronan Farrow being, Frank Sinatra's kid. Same shit. That is Fidel's kid. Trying to bring him back into the stream here. RM Brown, what's up? Do you think that Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's kid?
Oh, he absolutely is, for sure. Do I sound better now?
Not at all.
Oh my God.
But it's okay. Tap your mic real quick. Okay, yeah. Can you just bring it closer to your face?
Check.
Yeah. Just turn up the input on that bad boy.
Oh my God. So we could do like a whole tech support show. How about
Well,
this?
yeah, we usually do actually.
How
Keep
about
talking.
now? How about now? Check.
You sound good. Do it even more, and you're great.
Check. I got a lot of great things to say, so I'm glad we're going through all this.
Yeah. I mean, I think if someone's saying try filleting it like Trump. RM, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I love the show. Been listening. It's great.
Oh, good. I hope I'm.
Thanks for filling some time there while I.
Oh, no worries. There was a lot to talk about. If I'm hearing RM wrong and he's blowing everybody out, let me know. But yeah, dude, thanks for coming on. I was on your show was it last week? God, these weeks are just all blending together.
Yeah.
And RM, you do, whatever, like comedic political vlogs on your channel that everyone should subscribe to that are very, very fun. And you and I were drinking buddies the night of the election. And I haven't told my audience that we got drunk off of some very, very shishi cocktails until I think I went to bed at 3:30. But I was also on you're on Central, I was on West Coast. It
was all over the place. Yeah, we were drinking pretty stuff that's almost designed to give you a hangover. I feel like first it was those sugary margaritas, and then I don't know what the hell we were drinking at that bar, but it was all I would like a hangover tomorrow, please.
Yeah, exactly. One hangover, and I would like it to be both emotional and physical. As with the I just lied in bed that morning and I'm just real talk. Cried, gently cried.
Yeah, it's good to have a cry sometimes.
It was a gentle cry as I listened to activist Linda Sarsour speak on her Instagram, being we've got to redouble our efforts. It was like someone was whispering movement affirmations at me,
Yeah, no, totally. It was a very surreal. The whole thing was very surreal. You know what? Can I change? Can I totally change directions and confront you on something?
Please.
And this is proof that I have been listening to the show, watching the show. You said something blasphemous about Scorsese the other day.
Oh my God.
You said you watched his newest movie, the
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon. I agree with you on that. Not a good movie.
Thank you.
Totally agree. But I would say don't throw Scorsese totally under the bus. Do you have other Scorsese movies that you do like? That's my question to you. Casino. Yes or no?
Oh, saw it once.
Okay.
Have
Have you seen After Hours?
No.
Okay, I want to get your take on After Hours.
Okay, I need to see. Okay, obviously I've seen Goodfellas multiple times.
Okay.
It is excellent.
Okay.
I've never seen Raging Bull, which is too bad. I think maybe I'm like looking at all of them. Aviator's excellent. His obsession with Leo is a little much, but Aviator's excellent.
He needs to back off Leo a little bit.
Yeah, he needs to definitely back off Leo. Like, there's only so much Leo can do, especially when your movie's way too fucking long. And there's like, and then you're gonna like shorthand the outro, like da 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 da. Like, what the fuck? Do regular movie shit. Why is this movie 3 hours? Do 90 minutes and give me what I want.
Yeah.
And I will.
Enough with this. Like Oscar bait. The movie's got to be 3 hours long thing. He was Gangs of New York, right? Gangs of New York, yes, good movie.
Great movie. You know, here's what I will say. The Departed, forgot about it immediately.
I would say, look, I agree with you on that one. Overrated. That one's a little overrated.
It's super overrated. I'm just like, you know, when a movie is good is the next day I'm thinking about it. Like, for me, it's like, the movie is like you go back and you're like, fuck. Oh shit. Now actually I realize he did one of my favorite movies. Cape Fear, dude.
Cape Fear. That's one of your favorites? That's like almost like a forgotten Scorsese.
Cape Fear is so fucking good. It is terrifying. It is hilariously terrifying. It's like super 90s thriller, but like thriller in the best way possible. Like the suspense, the long shots that start here and then they go like, and then like zoom in on the face. Wait. Javier Bardem is going to star in a Cape Fear TV series at Apple. That is going to be terrifying.
No way. Because it was Juliette Lewis was the girl in that. I wonder who's going to be the female lead in that. That's
right. Juliette Lewis, who the serial killer like basically seduces.
Yep.
And the best, like the most like 90s ass thing is that MTV Movie Awards gave the Juliette Lewis Robert De Niro kiss the best kiss of the year.
Whoa.
Which was like, it's basically like a 15-year-old girl kissing like a 40-year-old man.
Hey, if MTV, if that's what you like.
Hey,
that's what you want. All right, creeps.
Why can't 15-year-olds kiss 40-year-olds anymore? Wait a minute. Maybe they can. Let's just talk about Matt Gaetz a little bit.
Yes, please. So I'm derailing the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
You're not derailing anything. I think it was a perfect segue. I mean, speaking of sort of serial killers.
Yes. Connect.
So obviously Matt Gaetz withdrew his name. Now, do you think that was the right thing to do, RM? As Attorney General?
I mean, probably. He's trying to get out of the spotlight, right? Is that that's his whole thing? I mean, I don't know, like I uploaded a video about it today, where there's like a forgotten part of this where I don't know if you remember this, but the Miami Herald was like doing a lot of Epstein stuff. I mean, what's her name? That reporter. She's a great reporter.
I don't know it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she basically like broke the whole Epstein thing when he was arrested the first time and got like a sweetheart deal. And there's like a kind of forgotten thing with Matt Gaetz where the Miami Herald interview or like got a quote from him and he was like, we don't need to look into this sweetheart deal too much, which was, it kind of says everything you need to know about Matt Gaetz. Like, you know, he's just like, you know, like a defender of power and kind of a criminal, you know? And like, so I'm not, this is his life. Like, I'm not surprised that he's just like, you know. Okay.
And his boy, Joel Greenberg, who was his, you know, who was his bosom buddy, is serving 11 years.
I mean, him and that guy is the most like Florida criminal thing, like that thing that came out with him and Matt Gaetz going into the tax collector's office after hours and like rifling through IDs and stuff. It's just the most
so creepy. So he obviously Greenberg was the tax collector of the Seminole County, Florida. And so a couple years ago, I had Democrat Representative Anna Escamani on the show. And she was like, okay, so not only do I know that like Gaetz and Greenberg obviously were friends, but they would drunk call me and be like, sup girl, what you doing? You know, like we're just hanging, me and my boy Joel, you know, like they would just
Joel like, in the house. Hey,
how's it going, girl? You want to hit, we're about to hit up like, you know, senior prom. Like that's so even just hearing that anecdotally that they would like drunk call Anna.
You up. They would say you up.
100%.
Yeah.
Super creepy. But anyway, let's look at, I just want to know, you know, if you were to pay many, many, many girls for sex on Venmo, like what would the subject line be? These are Venmo payments from Exhibit A. We are getting pieces of the ethics report. They obtain records, including a check and records of Venmo payments appear to show Representative Matt Gaetz paid more than $10,000 to two women who were later witnesses in sexual misconduct probes conducted by both the House and Justice Department. They show that between 2017 and 2019, Gaetz, who was elected in 2016, allegedly made 27 Venmo payments totaling $10,224 to two witnesses who were over the age of 18 at that time. So, but these were not the underage girls that you were looking for, but they are women who he paid, which I was like, wait a minute, like no one's bad mouthing sex work, but like sex work's not legal in Florida.
Right. So
like, I don't even know. I mean, are Republicans trying to like legalize it? Like what's going on, you know? But so here's some of the subject lines. Car deductible, $300. Gift, reimbursement, $417.45. This is a very specific number. Imagine paying for sex and being like, I'm going to pay you $417.45, not a whole 50. 45. Like, what is this a fucking Nazi code? Like, what is this?
It's some kind of taxes or something on the
right. Did he add 20%, but he didn't want to round up? He was just like, oh, dude, what's right? The 1745 is just like a tip.
It kind of feels like, hey, maybe I should kind of make this look like a real payment for something or something like that. But then later on, he's just like, whatever, $400, you know,
right?
Something like that.
My question is like, what are the emojis in this? Because there's sometimes it was just emojis. Love you, travel, cartridges. That one's a good one. That one's like, oh yeah, official, congressional business, cartridges.
Printer ink.
Hi, Joy. And by the way, this is while he's in office, 2018, 2019. Like this isn't his like past. This is his present. This is his now. The Justice Department spent years probing the allegations. Gaetz has long denied wrongdoing. Oh, there's even more. Oh, God. Oh, here are the emojis, you guys. Oh, my God. All right, look at the fucking emoji. Wait, I gotta zoom. This is going to be hard to see, but here we go. PayPal, Venmo, being my friend. Can you imagine paying someone to fuck you and being like, thank you for being a friend?
$250 for being a friend. I should start charging my friends. Like, hey, we hung out.
Yeah, look. I feel like you took one selfie with me. That's worth at least $250. I don't know what this emoji is. It looks like a little like passport or something, or a ticket. Being awesome.
Being awesome. Okay. What's being awesome? Whoa, $400 for being awesome. Okay.
$400 for being awesome. First of all, everybody, please, my Venmo is TBR-live. I'm awesome.
You're awesome. You're pretty awesome a good percentage of the time. I feel like that's $400.
If people can super chat awesome, that'd be great. Or what about here? $500 here. God damn it, here.
Here. There you go. Okay, so that seems less.
Okay, but that, like, even though I look, okay, I came really quick, so like technically I probably shouldn't give you this, but here,
there you go. Yeah. You weren't being as off. Well, how much was this one? This is okay here. Okay, that went up from, so not even being awesome, you get an extra $100
here, exactly here, reimbursement. This looks like, does it look like a mask emoji? I don't know what this is. It was face, but covered by something. It almost looks like a mask emoji. All right.
It's an eyes wide shut mask.
I'm gonna, this is not actually gonna work, but yeah, it doesn't get bigger from here. Maybe I'll open it in a new tab. Let's see if we can. All right. This is the tab game. Welcome to tabs. We all love tabs. It doesn't work. Fuck. Now it's worse.
We should do an all tech show.
We should. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, look at me. Look at this. This is like, if you're listening as a podcast, I can't believe you're still here. No, I'm just kidding. Stay. I love you.
Where are you going? Where else are you gonna go? Hey, whoa, no.
Hey, whoa. RM, here's my question for you. Yeah. This was the big news. It dropped on Tuesday, and maybe you did a video about it already, but it is Marjorie Greene, who is threatening the rest of her colleagues if the ethics report fully gets released, which Republicans have blocked from being released.
Right.
She threatens over on Twitter, for my Republican colleagues in the House and Senate, if we're going to release ethics reports and rip apart our own that Trump has appointed, then put it all out there for the American people to see. Yes, all the ethics reports and claims, including the one I filed. Ooh, all your sexual harassment and assault claims that were secretly settled, paying off victims with taxpayer money. The entire Jeffrey Epstein files, tapes, recordings, witness interviews. But not just those, there's more. Epstein wasn't/isn't the only asset. If we're going to dance, let's all dance into the sunlight. I'll make sure we do.
I mean, okay, but why would you not do that either way? Like, go for it. Like, put your money where your mouth is. If you have a bunch of evidence, put it out. Why is this contingent on keeping something hidden? Like,
right. Like, why are you admitting, like, so... Yeah. It's flaunting. It's like very like, so we are all complicit in covering up similar, perhaps criminal sex acts.
Yes. So she's saying, unless you keep covering all of this guy's stuff, I'm going to uncover.
Yeah.
Like, let's do a whole bunch of covering.
Yeah. No, I love that read of it, because I think a lot of people, including myself, were like, yeah, she's right. Let's release all of the, wait a minute, what? Like, you're right. She's just admitting to her own complicity in it, but also the one I filed, which honestly, girl, I don't care. Believe all women except you. Just kidding. No, I'm sure she was. Look, why would, don't touch her. Don't touch her. Don't seduce her, bring her into your weird fucking sex orgies, which, by the way, the only person who's really faced consequences for the orgies in Congress is Madison Cawthorn, the Republican, congressperson who was like, yeah, I was asked to go to an orgy. And then everyone was like, you will die. And they all tanked his entire fucking reelection.
That's kind of the theory that people have been floating around with Matt Gaetz. I think that it's just like, yeah, he does have a bunch of dirt. Maybe some Republicans don't like him, but they're kind of using this as like he's kind of a threat to the establishment, which I don't think he is. I think he's a defender of power mostly. But like, I agree that they all have dirt, but like, go ahead, like, release, like, go ahead. If you're saying you're going to release it,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
she's doing she's admitting to her own cover up right now.
Yeah, exactly. And also the Epstein stuff is like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Epstein files, let's go. I want to hear the recordings. I want to hear how much he talked to Donald Trump. I want to know that definitely Piers Morgan was on Lolita Express, and that's why he gets all uncomfortable every time I bring that up, or anyone brings it up. It's like the one time I've seen him actually concerned on his own show. It's like, what are you doing? Stop it! No.
No, we don't. No, we're not going to talk about that. Let's talk about
Who
that.
cares about Epstein? Oh, and then he interviewed. Piers interviewed Epstein's brother, which is really interesting. I haven't listened to it, but like, did
Yeah.
you?
I listened to some of it. I can't remember if it was somebody interviewed him, and yeah, he's kind of all over the place.
He's really all over the place.
Yeah, he's kind of like it kind of seems like he still thinks his brother was like a good guy, a cool guy, but he's like, I got some concerns though. It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But did you
I don't
see-
know. Well, he's like, I still get the money, right? I still have. Anyway, he was a little weird.
I got some questions. I don't know. Generally a cool guy, but I got some questions. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I just want to ask you your thoughts on like I think it's preposterous people who are making the Matt Gaetz situation any less than what it actually is, which is like not just illegal, but like deeply disgusting and and dare I say like very unbecoming of an elected official to be at a bunch of drug-fueled orgies with paid prostitutes, many of whom are underage. I mean, excuse me, sex workers. Like, this is, again, no disrespect to sex worker orgies, but like, no. I'm just gonna, like, does it make me a liberal killjoy to say I don't think this is becoming of a representative or, heaven forbid, an attorney general?
Well, I mean, wouldn't it be kind of like against his own purported like ethical code too? Aren't these like supposed to be like, whatever. This is an old critique that's obviously like, it's it doesn't really work anymore, but he's like, a family values.
100%.
They've always been. They're always the biggest freaks, like those kind of that people who purport to be that and always defending traditional family values and all that turn out to be the biggest freaks,
100%, but that's exactly right. That is also precisely what it is. It's not only is this unbecoming, but you make your whole fucking shtick about how much trans people want to sexually assault you and how deviant it is to literally just live your goddamn life. And yet here you are kind of being a deviant. So like, what is it? Like, own it, own the deviance. But again, this is the whole, like, it's morals for you and none, like morals for thee and none for me type thing. Like, it's okay when I do it. It's okay when, like it's heterosexual. And when the 17-year-old's hot, that's when and when like she likes me, that's when it's legal. I mean, doesn't like me, like it's just.
I saw a Slavoj Žižek interview. I've been playing this clip. This is kind of an obvious point, but he was like a lot of like I don't know, like conservative talking heads online are talking about like postmodernism and all this stuff, and like really like the I don't know, like the conservatives have become very postmodern. Like, you got like two poles. You got like Trump and then Bernard Sanders, and Bernard Sanders is very like, he is like the more like Christian, like wholesome guy, and the less postmodern. Then you got the other side where there's no objective.
Bernard Sanders is Christian and wholesome?
I mean, he's way more like respectable. He's not like telling blatant.
Yeah, he doesn't fuck weird. He fucks like very like, standard.
Right to the point. I go right to the point.
To the point. You turn on the jazz, a little bit of jazz. The fire's going.
I put on D'Angelo. I put on a D'Angelo song. I bring it back to the 90s, the classic hip hop.
Just nothing but the classics.
That's what I like.
The old playlist.
Hip hop. The 5 elements of hip hop. No, like I think it's a good point. Like he's like grounded to something. He's grounded to some kind of like material reality. But these other guys they're not. There is no objective reality, I think, with these.
Yes.
People. Like no family values, but like I'm going to like these orgies and like sending Venmos and all this stuff. It's like, there's no there doesn't need to be like
consistency.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
No, yeah, we are post consistency. I mean, this is why I think that anyone who's like trying to do a devil's bargain with these fascists is an idiot, to be honest with you, because these motherfuckers aren't consistent. If you're like, oh, got you, I pointed out your hypocrisy. You think they care? They're like, guess who's in power? Not you. You know, like they don't care. They don't care about being consistent. It's fun for them. I want to. There is a comment from Dizzle McFizzle. A very important question.
Good name. Whoa, chat's going crazy right now.
What's Mr. Brown's opinion on the hoes? Loyal? Not loyal. Explain. We are pro ho in this house, and the kitty cat is definitely pro ho in there.
Oh my God, this is the classic, philosophers, people, ethicists have been discussing this for years. Are the hoes loyal or not? Some are scaring the hoes. Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia had recently scared the hoes, from what I understand. But this is not a question.
I don't know. Kendrick Lamar just dropped a new album, so we will find out whether hoes are loyal.
Yeah, we need Kendrick to weigh in on this.
First of all, I think we all know we are in definitely these hoes ain't loyal moment. Like this is the most hoes ain't loyal moment of them all. Everybody thinks that.
Yes.
Nobody's loyal. I mean, we just have the entire
era of unloyal hoes.
We are absolutely. Yeah. We are in the era of Democrats. Donald Trump's the biggest threat, and then as soon as they lose, they're like, actually, we got to invite him to the White House. Let's give him some nog. Give him some nog.
Morning Joe, more like morning unloyal hoe. Am I right? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Thumbs up in the chat.
Yes. Okay.
Weird one. I'd never really watched MSNBC before that, and I watched some of his show, and I was like, is it all like this? Is it what MSNBC is like? Holy moly! And it's like cast as the left-wing network, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? It's insane.
Well, it's basically the same. I was talking about this, I think, on Tuesday with Gareth. Like, it's the same stories rehashed and recycled with different hosts, but the exact same backwards and forwards, waiting on breaking news, and really no actual debate. I mean, I hate to do this because I hate giving credit to the right, but Fox News does deserve credit for like even rhetorically or even lifting up as a straw man, having like progressives or people who are like Democrats on, like, Jessica Tarnov is like consistently on the show. I think Tarlov or something like that. She's on the 5 and they're like, she crushes it. And it's like, say what you will, but they allow her to be on. They would never allow, MSNBC would never allow like one panelist to be like, all y'all are wrong. It's all corporate donors. Fuck capitalism. They would never take that.
Yeah,
step.
No, totally. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, and Tracy Ava saying they used to be a fan of Rachel Maddow. Look, girl, me too. First of all, I think some of Maddow's stuff was good, and Maddow also would uplift like organizing, which was you'd never see that on a lot of outlets. But like then you see her and Lawrence O'Donnell like, and you're just, the whole thing is, it's bad news. Chris Hayes has some good moments.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Ali Velshi has some good moments, but a lot of it is just slop. It is just the same kind of slop, and they're not interested in actually informing people in a deeper way. Sadly, unless, they come calling, in which case I love MSNBC and please hire me. And absolutely, I take back everything I said. RFK Jr. I thought this was fake. RM, have you seen this?
One of
the things
RFK, you're like, is this real? Is this AI?
Well, also his voice is so AI-able. There's like something it's easy. So here he is. It's from a radio show in which he read and praised the description of Trump and his supporters as being belligerent idiots, outright Nazis, and cowards and bootlickers. And he also compared Trump to Hitler. But let's listen to this. I seriously could not believe this. Again, Health and Human Services people.
One of the things that you write so beautifully, and your stuff is so fun to read, but you write about.
I'm sorry, I gotta stop it right there. Can you imagine this dude talking dirty? Just like, right, so beautifully. Such a little slut. You
To Cheryl? You think Cheryl's in? Cheryl might be.
Cheryl's into it, just like, just shut up.
I know it's a cliche, but I wonder if she does the, yells at him the way she yelled at Larry David,
Oh, yeah.
RFK, what are you doing? Like, what?
Bobby, Bobby, what are we doing? Okay.
You write so beautifully, and
that is how she walks in on him having an affair. Like, just arms crossed. Bobby,
not again.
Bobby, and with a snake? What's the snake doing there?
Why are there crows in the house again?
Your stuff is so fun to read, but you write about Trump. Quote, the way that you build a truly vicious nationalist movement is to wed a relatively small core of belligerent idiots to a much larger group of opportunists and spineless fellow travelers whose primary function is to turn a blind eye to things. We may not have that many outright Nazis in America, but we have plenty of cowards and bootlickers. And once those fleshy dominoes start tumbling into the Trump camp, the game is up. When you talk about fleshy dominoes, Chris Christie comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I'm listening to this and realize he's reading a passage that this journalist wrote about Donald Trump and all the fleshy idiots and all the the bootlickers who come around. Because there's no way he said that on his own. But it's like,
okay, so months, maybe a month before he joined the Trump campaign, there's a great clip. I don't know if you saw this, where he did a press conference outside of his house. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, he's just going off, and a lot of it's true. He's Trump's, the Trump campaign, they say they're going to drain the swamp. They are the swamp. Look at J.D. Vance. He's a nod to the CIA and Wall Street and all that. He just goes off, and then a month later, he's like, "Oh, this is awesome." Actually, yeah.
It's like, we can see you.
Yeah.
Hang on. Is it this one? Is it the one where there's a little let's see if we can. I'm just randomly pulling this up, but it may not be the right one. It's a little primrose.
Yep, that's the one.
It's like the jangling of keys. They're saying, look over here, look at abortion, look at freedom of choice, look at trans rights, look at gun rights. And while we're all staring at each other's throats on those issues on the jangly keys, they're robbing the bank over here. They're shifting the wealth upward to this new oligarchy of billionaires. And both President Trump and President Biden engineered the lockdowns in 500 days.
Oh, boy.
They created 5 billionaires. And they shifted $4.3 trillion northward because it's like the jangling of keys.
Okay, so this is where he sort of was on his populist anti-establishment tip.
But he does, in that clip, he does get into all look at Trump's look at who he appointed, it's all BlackRock and all this stuff. He's not a real populist, yada yada yada. He goes into all that stuff. So yeah, he's all over the place. But
then it's it's so transactional and
exactly.
I've seen it put like this, at least Trump was willing to at least Trump was willing to make deals, which it's terrible. The people that he made deals with, the J.D. Vances, the RFK Juniors, the people who called him Hitler, the people who called all of his followers idiots, but and it's transactional in the service of money, power, and fascism. But it's you really wish that Kamala Harris or Biden would be a little transactional. They couldn't even be so transactional as to have a very transactional symbolic Palestinian American speaker at the DNC. There's nothing more transactional than a DNC speaker to sort of give a wink and a nod. And, they couldn't be bothered to do that. And so now we have RFK Jr. as the head of HHS, which now apparently, this is new news that just came out that I guess RFK is now bragging that his organization funded the Plandemic film. I mean,
yeah.
which obviously went viral and was taken down like 1,000,000 times. We have a film division of the Children's Health Defense, Kennedy said in a clip from a virtual interview shared by the anti-extremism social media account Patriot Takes on Wednesday. A majority source of vaccine information, CHD, is an activist nonprofit that was chaired by Kennedy until he took leave in 2023 to run for president. Quote, we produced 2 films. One of them is Vaxxed 2, which was, a huge success. Vaxxed 2. The second dose. Vaxxed 2. Vax 3, hepatitis C comes in 3 doses, motherfuckers. 18 months apart, bitch.
Vax 2, back in the vax.
Back in the I swear to God.
The thing with him, though, like, even if you're like, because I kind of know people who are like RFK fans. They think he's like an anti-establishment figure. I would, it's like you ask them, okay, like what is he actually going to do? Because a lot of this is like corporate capitalist critique. It's like,
yeah,
what are you actually going to do about like, he says he's going to fix public health. Like how? Like so far what I've heard is like he's going to try to take certain dyes out of certain things. That's okay. That's fine. But like, that's not, like what, fixing public health is a giant project that would take like a restructuring.
I do think it would be really funny to like replace whatever red dye is everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's call it red 95. Let's call it red 69, My favorite my favorite sex position. It's where you 69 on your period. Red 69, exactly. We're doing it. I'm sorry, RM. I'm doing this because you're here. But let's say red 69 gets replaced by like something natural, like beetroot juice.
Right.
I just like, obviously, I think it's good to get rid of toxins. I just think it's really funny that like, if we ever eat anything that's like colored red, it just gets all over us, and we're just like, oh, like all we wanted.
Yeah.
We just wanted a red Starburst, and it's like everywhere. It's beet juice. It's good for you. Okay, but then he says Plandemic, which was financed by some metrics, which is now by some metrics the most successful documentary in history. So yeah, so Children's Health Fund. Health Defense helped fund fucking Plandemic, which is absolutely insane and rotted people's brains about COVID. But to your point, you're absolutely right. There's no way they're going to allow him to actually create, add regulations. I was just reminded today, I was seeing that I think The Guardian reported that Prop 65 in California, which passed some years back, that limited the amount of like chemicals that can be put into everyday goods. I mean, anything from like, whatever, kitchenware to food to couches, whatever. It's usually like materials that has successfully reduced the amount of toxins in our blood. For example, there's like blood taken today, this year versus years ago before it was bad. It's like that kind of shit. You think the Trump administration is going to expand a California policy to the rest of the world? Country. I don't think so. No. They're not going to add regulations. It's about anything you want to take away. Okay, you want to take away regulations on milk? Have at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and at the same time, they're doing this deregulation thing with Elon Musk and all this. It's like these are conflicting projects. It's like you want more regulation, but you want to deregulate everything and defund all the, organizations that will do the regulation. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And like,
no.
And also,
there's going to also be like, how much money is there going to be into like fat camps?
Yeah.
Like there's going to be so much like fat camp funding
for
just like the worst, most toxic, like child abusive places to send like children who have BMI, which obviously is not, fucking science.
It'll be those camps that like Dr. Phil sends the out of control teens to that turn out to be like totally abusive and all that stuff. It'll be like public funding for that, probably.
And if they get hot enough, they get rewarded with a cabinet position.
Exactly. Yeah, but it is like, like there's so much, like the idea of health is so like, what do you get more leverage on being a healthy society with? Like, doing these things around the edges with dyes and stuff, or like giving people more free time and more like protection in their job and like
Giving
less
people
stress.
universal fucking
Universal
health
healthcare.
care. I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that we are like, oh, here's the forest. I'm looking at a shrub. Like, we are just
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
it's hitting you in the face. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't believe, obviously, in working with the Trump administration. But yeah, if RFK is like, I think they need to get rid of private health insurance, I'll be like, yes, get rid of fucking private health insurance. That's the problem. The problem is all the money being made. I love how they're like, the big pharma, big pharma. Yes, big pharma. But motherfuckers, it is the private health insurance industry that is gouging us, killing us, preying on us. And if you can't see that because you're so obsessed with fucking seed oils, I literally don't know what to. You are so wealthy. You live in like between Brentwood and the fucking Hollywood Hills, and that's your fucking life if you're like seed oils, because you can pay for the best healthcare there is.
Yeah, no, that is what it is. It's kind of a rich guy's view of health. Like, if we could just get rid of these seed oils and everybody's like lickety split, everything's fine. But it's like, look at the average person's life, like how much not only not access to like healthcare, but just like the kind of stress of like everyday life that really
Yes.
like that's unhealthy too. If you're living like a precarious life where you're kind of always worried about like falling through the cracks and all this, like that's the only way to do public health like that, like what he's like symbolically nodding to, would be like a real like confrontation, I think.
100%. Yeah.
He's
not going to do it. He's not. I mean, I would almost, it would have been better if he would like be head of the EPA. Like, it would have been a lot better.
That makes
if
sense.
Right, because he's better on the environment than he is obviously on like this fucking anti-vax kick. But
he's got some legal experience there. You know, that makes sense.
I just want to play this or put up his response to sort of being outed as having fawned over the description of Donald Trump and his lackeys as being sort of like whatever the hell he said. He said to CNN, like many Americans, I allowed myself to believe the mainstream media's distorted dystopian portrait of President Trump. I no longer hold this belief and now regret having made those statements. Like, that's a genre of person at this point.
Right.
Like, I allowed myself to believe all the hype, but now I realize, since I personally wasn't maimed or harmed in Trump's first administration, like, and no one that I see right in like my not in my periphery, this is my own thing, but just right in front of me. And yes, there is a box over my head. Nobody in this box is currently being harmed by Donald Trump. I think he's good now. I think he's great now.
Yeah, that is a type of poster online for sure. Like,
just like, I allowed myself the mainstream fucking what the fuck?
Again, I think it's that postmodern thing. It's like, okay, so these are the constraints I have to like have a political opinion. So, here's my take now. It's actually good or whatever. It's just operating totally in the constraints that, I guess, you know, that guy's being given and just accepting them.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so this is the very last. I mean, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about anything? Do you have an agenda?
I don't have an agenda. I was gonna bring up that you pocket dialed me.
I did pocket dial, and it's been like 2 hours of a show. Holy shit, an hour and a half.
Okay, we could wrap it up whenever you want. But I did want to say about that it was.
Oh, I pocket dialed you, and this was a very fun pocket dial actually, because
I heard it was totally like, because I feel like if I pocket dialed somebody, it would be like you would never speak to me again. It would just be me like yelling at an inanimate object, you know, like some tech thing that's not.
Well, that's kind of what I was doing.
No, you were
yelling at an inanimate object.
It was a very wholesome, like, from what I heard, it was very like it was like totally nice. There was nothing weird about it. It would have been totally weird if I had been on the other side.
Well, no, you're not telling the whole story. You picked up the phone, and what did you hear me say on the other side?
Oh, you were talking about the Havana song. He took me back to East Atlanta.
Yes. I was singing Havana na 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 or Wo na na.
Yeah.
I left Half of My Heart is in Havana, the Camila Cabello song, because I was explaining a fucking. Here's what I talk about with Matt is me explaining a comment I left on an Instagram post that got likes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Hell yeah.
The most important thing, yes.
The most important thing. And it was that Camila Cabello was in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh. And she changed the lyrics of her song to be Saudia na na na. Half of my heart is in Saudi. And I just immediately was like, that just reminds me of Jamal Khashoggi, was dismembered by Saudi Arabia, whose half of his heart might quite literally be in Saudi, just like a little bit too
on the nose.
Too on the nose.
Oh my god!
Like understand we all have to get how much you think you get for performing, like a cool 1.2 mil for performing in Riyadh, but don't change the lyrics, keep the lyrics.
Yeah, keep them. That would have at least caused some controversy. That's interesting.
Okay. Well, you know what? I was going to talk about how Kamala Harris actually just underperformed from Joe Biden because, but I don't want to talk about that now. Apparently, I've been told that nobody cares about turnout anymore. Nobody wants to talk about the 2024
Has everybody
election.
moved on? Everybody moved on from the election already?
Apparently, we've all moved on. I'm just over it. I don't want to talk about fascism or whatever. Just bring it to me, give it. But Harris, first of all, no big deal, but votes are still being counted, I think, in some fucking county in California. They're still coming in. Harris got 7.1 million fewer votes than Biden in 2020. And Trump got 2.5 million more votes. So still not as many as he got, I think. Oh, no, I guess that means he got more. So, but the point is this. Massive depressive turnout, and look at that down where I am. That's like my household just responsible. Right here. Oh no, I'm around here. Oh, okay. Los Angeles actually kind of showed up, but this is all the depression. So all to say, again, it was the Democrats' loss. There was no excitement. They're the ones who fumbled it. Are we agreed? I mean, we were saying this when we were drunk as shit on that night of.
Yeah. No, I was gonna send this to you, but did you? Theo Vaughn did a podcast. Some of these
with
guys,
Stavros.
Yeah, the Stavros thing, where they kind of came to the conclusion that we came to, where it's like, Theo Vaughn was like, oh, Trump seems kind of cool, but I kind of probably would have voted for Bernie Sanders. Like it's that, it's that kind of thing that you're hearing a bunch. Right. And then Stavros is like, yeah, like. That kind of takes people out of this, again, immaterial, postmodern nonsense and into oh no, politics is supposed to be about helping normal people and all this stuff. It seems like that's the conclusion. The Democratic Party probably needs to go away, and there needs to be a new party that's actually a material party that can take people out of
just whatever. A party for families who are working, like the Working Families Party. I was looking at the wrong map. I mean, I think that's exactly right. It's just so fucking simple. But here you have sort of where Harris lost votes, and they're sort of stalagmites that are falling down.
Graphic, yeah.
And they're just sort of dripping. And look at LA where I am, just pew. Wow. And this is the change since. And then you have a lot of swing states, Arizona and. Florida no longer, but you see there Michigan and Minnesota, or that's not a swing state, but you know what I'm saying. Ohio goes down. New York, just there wasn't enthusiasm.
Yeah, no.
Which is so gross, because doesn't that mean that we were technically more excited for Joe Biden? Don't we have to will history be people actually really like Joe Biden? They're he got the most votes in American history.
People loved him. They couldn't get enough. Couldn't get enough.
They
Yeah.
really wanted him. They thought he was just like the answer. Shit.
Thought he was awesome. Did you see that video of him walking around in the sand? That's a sad.
Dude, wait a minute. What?
Yeah, look up Joe Biden. It is a very unfortunate video. Poor guy trying to walk through the sand. You know, it's just like don't do that. Come on.
Is this from recently?
I don't know if it's from recently, but it's definitely been going around recently.
So I mean, this week he walked into the jungle, so there was already that.
Yes, he did. Yes.
But is this?
Oh no, this is.
Here he's walking in the sand. Take your shoes off, buddy. You have no shoes on. There we go. All right. Okay. He's running.
Okay,
that makes it worse.
So why are you doing this? Okay.
Just take your shoe. Hold Jill.
Hold on to Jill. Where are you going?
I can't believe we're still filming this. What is it? Was it a live cam on? What is he, like the president or something?
Oh boy.
You know what? Here's what it is for me, and I love the older people in my life.
Mr. President, what are you going to say to Trump on Wednesday?
Oh boy. He's still
let him walk. Don't
let him. He's got to do one thing at one time.
What are you going to talk with Trump on Wednesday?
Where is he going? To the shore? He just walks into the sea.
Just out into the distance. Today, President Joe Biden walked into the sea, never to be seen again.
Here's the problem. He's been trying to escape this whole thing. Here's my problem with Biden. Like, butcher Biden, genocide and everything. But like the mouth gape.
Oh.
Can we just close the mouth? Like, I love the older people in my life, but it is a dead giveaway that, you is old when you're like, like what is that? Do you lose? See, that's why I gotta work more with like my fucking like facial yoga and shit like that. So like I might just become slack-jawed.
I think we got to be hyper aware. Maybe this is the message, is a takeaway of the show. As you get older, keep that mouth closed. Like, be hyper aware. Is my mouth hanging open? Let me keep it closed. Yeah.
You know when my mouth is like totally open, other than when I'm doing Red 69, is when I'm wearing a mask. Like I still wear a mask in like airports and airplanes, and I probably should wear it more places, but that's where I wear it. I wore it in the subway in New York, and like when I'm wearing a mask,
recognized. You do it because you're like,
oh yeah, I'm too famous.
This person, yeah,
I'm way too famous. And like underneath the N95, I'm just like, like that's my face under every mask.
Absolutely, I'm secretly mugging at people. Under the mask.
I'm just like,
yeah, they have no idea. It's a hilarious game to play.
It's really fun to play under your mask. That's why I wear masks still. It's fun to play tongue games.
Red 69ing under that mask.
Red 69ing. I'm Red 69ing you with my eyes. This has been dumb and important, and I want to thank you, RM Brown, for being on. Where can people find you and watch your awesome and very hilarious vlogs?
RM Brown on YouTube. And yeah, thanks for having me. This was really fun. I love your show. I've been listening. I'm like a fan. I'm a certified fan now of your show.
Oh, certified Fran. That's amazing. Yeah, I just watched some of your videos the other day, and I was like, how does this boy have time for all this? This is great.
Thanks.
And they're fun, and you've got a soundboard, and there's music, and it's like much more elaborate than I have time or bandwidth or like arm strength to do. I have like repetitive strain injury. I have issues.
Your show's great.
Thank you, everybody,
for this humble stuff.
No, but you will stand for that guitar that's lovingly placed in the background to make sure that people know you can shred or whatever.
I can shred. Yeah, tune in for shredding. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. All right, RM, let's do this again. This has been lovely.
All right.
Take care, and thank you all for being here. I'm gonna read a couple comments and then fuck off in the night. Jay Denny says, this is the best episode ever. Is this just me or is it the best episode ever? I can read. Best episode ever. Terrence Trumbo, dude's eaten one too many bear cubs. That is in reference to RFK Jr. Instructor is bringing up a good point here. I wonder how Elon's going to work out that building that gigafactory in China with Trump getting ready to impose 20% tariffs on imports from China. Easy. Carve out. Like, again, it is tariffs for the cheaper imports for me. There is no way that those tariffs are going to apply to fucking Elon Musk. Why do you think he bought Trump the presidency? PB says, I confess to have eaten maraschino cherries when they were known to be infused with a cancerous red dye, and they tasted good. I know, dude. But the maraschino ones from Italia, those are the best ones. But yeah, all maraschino cherries are good. It doesn't matter. They're all good. And we're talking about Bernie's sex life. Jacob Shantz says he needs eye contact. That's verifiable. I mean, I don't know that from experience. Now I got grossed out, but William McGregor, thanks for being a member, says, what? Bernie takes a missionary political position on Gaza? Oh, yes, he does. He does, but it's a good one, you know? And Margarine Taterbean, thank you for being a member for about a year now. In a world loaded with grifters and bad people, we need voices like yours. Thank you for what you do. Join the Frantifa. Well, Margarine Taterbean, I love that your name is just like, there's a recipe there, and I don't know what it is, but it's very nice of you to say. That is so sweet. Please join the Frantifa. And patrons, I'm so sorry for posting late. I apologize. It is on me to post on Fridays, and you deserve better from people like me. But yeah, get at that. Get at that shit. Robert says, control of sex is control of society. That's true. Cassandra Capranica, in antiquity, people believed in several gods. Now most religions are monotheistic. We're going on the right direction. Have faith, folks. What does that mean? Because now we worship Donald Trump? I don't know what you mean by that. Philip Schwartz says, caring about human rights isn't anti-Semitic. Shaking my head. Indeed. Micro Kimmy Zadiosov. Donald James, progressives are losing seats. The only pro-Palestine reps we have. Yeah. I mean, the only pro-Palestine reps we have, however, are still around. I mean, they were defended heartily, even though, of course, Cory Bush and Jamal Bowman got taken out. But I mean, I think the other thing Bernie's sticking out his neck out for is reining in corporate spending on campaigns, specifically on primaries, which I think would be critical. I mean, you could, as a party, not take donations from massive dark money groups and or super PACs like AIPAC. That could be a consensus. I mean, a lot of centrist Dems would never agree to that, but that's actually like I think a good strategy going forward, because you won't get Republicans to agree to that. But in the primaries, in a safe blue district where you know voters are likely going to vote for a Democrat over a Republican, you're having all the millions of dollars being spent by AIPAC to knock out people like Cory Bush or knock out people like Jamal Bowman. So getting rid of that ability to spend would be massive. And Farrell Jane says, Leo is in all those films so Marty can get funded. Yeah, I don't know. They have a special little thing going. Marcos Granger, could you touch on the indictment on Bolsonaro and 30 others planning to assassinate Lula? I would love to. Let's do that maybe next Wednesday. I know that seems like a long time from now, but if not next Tuesday, definitely next Wednesday. That is a definite. And Marcos Granger also says Biden could erase all this by inviting Netanyahu to the United States and then arresting his ass. But he won't, because we are not party to the ICC. And also Biden is a committed Zionist and loves being complicit / helping in this genocide. Yes, he does. And the guy cannot walk on sand. So I want you to remember that we mocked him for not walking on sand, but then remember, genocide. Doesn't feel so bad, does it? I love you all so much. Thank you for sticking around, for watching through all the bumps and blobs and a helicopter that is currently outside of my house. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Normal schedule next week, even though it is Thanksgiving week, but we can swap recipes. Everyone tell me your favorite Thanksgiving dish, food. We'll get it. Okay, bye.